So we'll have an intro, look at this is what we're going to do today. There will be a hands-on demo, which we might move to the end, kind of depending on the flow. If you have your phone and handset, you can start downloading an app called Hoverlay. It's available on iOS and Android, but Hoverlay is the app. If not, don't worry, we'll move through to the end, and there will be plenty of time for discussion and hands-on demo. I'm Monica. I'm a poet and writer and researcher. I work with emerging technologies, so VR, AR, XR, and through relational and relationality as a method, and with experimental publishing often. So first I want to start, what is spatial media? It's a new kind of reading space. So with a book, with a 2D book or a screen or a page, you look at it. With spatial media, you inhabit it or you interact with it or immerse in it. The current XR technologies are virtual reality, which is right now meaning a headset. It's those funny looking headsets, and it's meant to be a world replacement. So it is your world, it is your environment, you should be able to navigate in it. I don't do virtual reality. There's a lot of ethical challenges with virtual reality. Specifically, it's racist, it's sexist, it's ageist, and they haven't solved cyber sickness. Once they solve cyber sickness, we can talk. Augmented reality, which I do. Haha. Augmented reality, spatial audio, which I also, these ones on the right are all the media that I work with. Spatial audio, extended reality, which is kind of a blanket term, but it means that there's different modalities and that it's interactive, and it includes things like projection mapping. And now 360 video, like the Sphere in Las Vegas. If you've ever been to an IMAX movie, that's a little bit of the preview, but now we have abilities for these 360 projected videos and projections. So who am I? Like, who is this lady ranting at you? So I'm an XR poet. I have a long-established poetry practice that is centered around getting poetry into the real world and off the page. So that looks like performance poetry, typewriter poetry, performance writing installations, listening poetry, curating reading series. I ran Storrs Publicity for about a decade. The biggest claim to fame was that I was the PR person for small press distribution, which used to be the way that all small presses got into the world. I represented hundreds of presses and thousands of authors nationally. And I also was the creative lead on PayPal's viral Poemgrams campaign. And now I'm the founder of Digital Poetics Press, which is the world's first XR native literary small press. Not a tech company, a small press. I'm a doctoral student at Northeastern University and a founding member of the Laboratory for Speculative Repair, which imagines how we can heal our relationship with technology, and what if technology was a site for repair rather than colonial extraction. I'm the creator of the Augmented Reality Poetry Machine, and the questions that I'm most interested in are, what does it mean to be a meaning-making human in environments not designed for human meaning-making? So I mentioned I'm the creator of the Augmented Reality Poetry Machine. The AR Poetry Machine debuted at MIT's Hacking Arts Conference in 2019. In 2021, it was sent to Earth's moon as part of a larger lunar payload delivery. So I have a poetry installation, an active poetry, and AR poetry installation on Earth's moon right now. The Augmented Reality Poetry Machine is an ongoing site-specific, durational, performance writing, interactive, co-creative poetry installation, where a poet, me, and publics co-create poetry, which are then placed into augmented reality environments for participants to find, to archive, creating a collection of shared temporal experience. So If you have your phone at the ready, don't worry. We can always move this towards the end. But if try scanning just the big one because it's the shorter activity for now, and you'll be able to demo a hands-on augmented reality poem. I'll look at the chat. I'm gonna hold space for like 2 minutes.
Do we scan? I know, silly question. Do we scan this with the hoverlay or do we scan it just like from
So you
our
turn on your phone camera and you scan it, and then it'll prompt you, like, do you want to, depending on what kind of handset you have, it'll prompt you to open it with the Hoverlay app, or it might just open on your web browser. You do not need to create a Hoverlay account. And you do not need to create a Hoverlay account.
It's downloading stuff. Oh, you get words in the
And there's spatial audio, so turn the volume up. I don't know if you're seeing my cursor, but if you are seeing my cursor on the big square, there's spatial audio.
Cool.
And I'll just wait for 1 more minute.
This is like my first experience with it because I've been terrified to do this because I have that VR sickness. If I look at VR, I get very.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
this is
more than
not it.
52% of people have cyber sickness. Like,
Oh, really?
yes, yes. Like, it will never be able to be adopted until they solve cyber sickness.
Oh, but this
And
I
it
can
has,
handle.
but augmented reality often doesn't cause a lot of the same problems.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. That's so exciting that this is your first AR traversal of this kind of work. I'm very excited about that. So for those without who are not playing along at home, here's a traversal footage of an example of another kind of augmented reality poem where the language appears kind of as this ghostly hauntology overlay. And this is by my friend and collaborator Bart Kuipers. And if you would like to demo this, all you have to do is turn on your phone, let the camera scan the QR code, give it a second for it to render, and you should be able to demo this on your own. And we'll also have this at the end if you're not able to do it right now. So scan this QR code with your phone camera. And if someone can let me know verbally if it works for them.
I scanned it and I gave it permission on my phone, but I haven't gotten anything yet.
Okay.
The interface opened for me. My camera is so busted on my phone that it's like it's on my hardware, not not the
Okay.
software.
Okay. We will have plenty of time to demo and play along at the end. Speaking of P.D. Edgar, in 2025, I also guest edited one of the very first collections of XR creative writing ever for Remediate, Next Realities. Maybe PD can put the link to Next Realities in the chat for people that are interested in finding out what XR creative writing means and capaciously. I also want to acknowledge the contemporary lineage of this form. So electronic literature, artist books, concrete and performance writing poetry, performance and sound poetry, language poetry, installation art, interactive fiction, site-specific poetics, publishing, and then the artists and writers and thinkers and theorists down here at the bottom. but it's not new. So this medium, while the technological interface is not new, we've always had an innate drive to tell stories and poetics immersively. So we know that immersive media goes back at least 17,000 years to the cave at Lascaux. We originally thought that the pictographs were, images, calliopes, that's not the right word, but depicting sequentials. But what we found was that when illuminated by torchlight, it actually becomes an immersive, like, animated cartoon. So at Lascaux, these were actually made to be experienced as an immersive form of media. Going through ancient Western immersive storytelling with the theaters and amphitheaters that they used to flood and stage the naval battles, and even the immersive media of the medieval, the biblical plays. I can't remember. Lyle, maybe you remember the name of it. To early modern, Parnassian theater in the round, opera, to modern, postmodern immersive storytelling methods, including TV and video games and radio and film, to where we are now in the postmodern era of the current 2D media. So the question is, have we achieved Hamlet on the holodeck at last? Like, has technology caught up finally to the place where we can have that? Cue video reel. So I'm launching a press. We're at the dawn of a new medium. And for centuries, stories have lived in pages or in oral histories, but now they can live spatially. You can step inside a story, poetry that you can physically traverse and walk through, or hearing a grandparent's story right where it physically happened. AR and XR and AI world models are going to change how we tell stories. And they require a new publishing form, spatial publishing. Introducing a totally new form of publishing for the spatial era. From me, the world's first XR native literary small press. It'll be designed as a Creative Commons toolkit, empowering everyone to create with spatial publishing. And I'm open for naming suggestions, but we can talk about that at the end. So I want to look at the current landscape right now. Who's building? What's missing? So right now, as of 2024, it's a $3.5 billion AR book market. These numbers did not seem right to me, so I validated it from like 100 different sources, and these are accurate numbers. I'm just going to put that out there. So right now it's a $4 billion AR book market, projected to be about $24 billion by 2034. North American market share is a lot, but it's not the only market share. Who's building? Pearson McGraw-Hill has AR textbooks and STEM tools. Lidenso does the authoring for Cambridge, for Sage Press, for this word that I cannot say. Scholastic has a lot of IP for animated storybooks for children, as does Little Hippo and Disney, that has Walmart exclusives and AR characters, and BBC and AMC have tie-in iBooks. So what's missing here? The work is not treated as literature. It's treated as engagement tools. There's no critical vocabulary or craft language for spatial forms. There's no infrastructure like ISBNs, archiving, culture review processes, canon building, community building, a press. The patent situation, so books are not patentable. They are you can copyright them. You can't patent them. But the technology, the underlying technology that supports XR interaction is currently in patent pending status, limiting who gets to deploy it. So AR identifiers like scanning, trigger mapping, page link overlays are being IP'd by platform holders. The spatial anchors are proprietary and owned. ARKit, ARCore, portability is very limited, and in Web 1.0, platforms controlled the distribution model even when the content was free, and we're also at that moment now in spatial media. And we have one chance to build it out right. It's not overblown to say that we are at the dawn of an entirely new media, and so we need to build in the ethical infrastructures now. We need to codify and solidify that now before inequities get baked in. We are at that dawn of a new medium. And so from app to art, one of the major issues that I ran into when doing Next Realities for Remediate wasn't technical, it was taxonomic. Artists and creators are not thinking of their work as capital A art or capital L literature. They're thinking of it as games, they're thinking of it as apps, and it is so much more than that. So we have this language that limits game, implying winning or losing. Maybe we can shift some of the way that we speak about it into work, implying craft and intention and authorship. App is like utility. There's a task to complete. But when we frame it as literature, it implies conversation with history and lineage and with all storytelling that came before it. When we frame it as an experience, there's a little bit of connotation of passivity or spectatorship. But if we reframe it in possibly more artistic language, we're implying genre or form or peers. So one of the big challenges is getting builders, getting creators to see their work as capital A art, capital L literature, not disposable game or app. The other problem is that of accessibility and getting artists to see that these media can be for them, that they belong in tech, and extending that invitation and that community to them. What makes a text spatial? So a book doesn't just have pages, it's location, a weather, a body. So as we're reading through kind of spatialized text, we need to think through what does the text, physical text, do? We think about space, where it appears, why. We think about body. There's now this embodied component of what does the reader physically have to do to enter into meaning making. An interface, what mediates that encounter? Is it AR glasses? Is it a busted phone? Is it a very fancy iPhone model 13 billion? What does time? So temporal. What unfolds, what delays, what loops, what disappears. And then this huge issue of persistence. What is the archive? What must be preserved and how? And access, who gets to experience it and under what conditions? Space becomes a grammar in spatial publishing. Movement through space can indicate pacing for a short story, say. Proximity is intimacy, so you're now able to extend these kind of forms within totally new ways. Thresholds and portals that you enter through become caesura and line breaks. Gravity, so of the 3D object, of the GLB files that you're placing, become tone. Height for emphasis. Absence may be silence. Obfuscation is ambiguity. 3D typography can become prosody. And it inhabits these different dimensions. So spatial work depends on platforms that can deprecate overnight. Remember when Flash went away and everybody's projects and all these fun, delightful things just poof, gone. Archiving living books means archiving conditions of possibility. So some suggestions that I'm thinking through are how to ISBN every work, how to separate source from platform, preserving files and these issues of platform deployments and issues of persistence, video documentation, and then hardware agnostic design. So that's a big one. Is if you're anchoring to any kind of proprietary SDK, you're going to have problems, and also being able to access for all kinds of devices, all kinds of geolocations. There's a lot to think through. And who gets to decide this? Right now, it's us. Like, this is the moment. We get to decide what these standards will be. So the language poets had this in language. The beats had bookstores and coffee houses. Oulipo had constraint. They were in conversation with each other. The form needs you. So I have the starts of some vocabulary, but it needs to be documented and put down, and it needs to be really in conversation with others that are thinking about these forms. And so how can we assemble the canon together? One, I challenge you to write spatially. Think, even if you are not creating in this environment, try writing a poem or a short story that would be for one of these media. Try WebXR, which we can do in just a second. Spatial media is now more accessible than you think it is. Submit or follow at Digital Poetics, or follow me on LinkedIn. There will be calls coming in the coming months, and that way we can stay connected and start building this community. And so when I deploy poems to a physical location, whether it's the park or a library or the moon, I'm thinking about a reader who will stand there and look up and engage with it. Is it a user or is it a reader? And that's what we need to build towards. So now I want to open this conversation up to everyone and everybody, and I have some the QR code demos for us if you're interested, and yeah. So I open the floor. Take yourselves off mute, ask questions, and feel free to scan these too. And this is the smaller one is a project called Glimpses of Glapion, telling the story of the work of Louis Glapion, a queer free person of color hairdresser in Boston, whose history has largely been erased, that our project attempted to serve it. Elisa Hamilton was the artist. I was the developer for the project.
When these words are source or location specific, like you would put the QR code in a garden or a graveyard, and then you would see the actual location.
Exactly. So that's one way that this medium works as a hauntology. So the Glimpses of Glapion is imagined in front of Louis Glapion's house at 5 Pinckney Street in Boston. So it is designed for you to be able to experience right there. The Augmented Reality Poetry Machine is largely site-specific, meant to be encountered at the physical location where it's occurring. And yes, so there is elements of site specificity. I would also challenge us to think broadly about decoupling that, right? Because right now, that's one of the primary ways that the media is understood is going on these AR history walks and surfacing hidden histories, and thinking about what that could mean, possibly extended from that. The other way this media is being used very heavily is in manufacturing and mechanical engineering. So they are leveraging the ability to not have to be in a site-specific location to be able to interact with things that normally require you to be on site and have physical access to. You're gonna look at the chat.
My other question is too, and this is in the chat. I'm working with a lot of folks from Nigeria, India, and finding that they can't even do twine because all they have is a phone. They have a phone. So we've been writing like phone stories, and I've been doing it in twine and then transferring it over. Is there any work in this field that would allow somebody to create AR only using a cell phone?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Lyle Skanes may have some an augmented reality for all. I have an augmented reality for all workshop that enables people with just basic. If you have to be able to like navigate your Google Drive, you got to be able to navigate like Microsoft Office. But if you can do that, I can get you making augmented reality within 2 to 3 hours. So yes, so there are definitely platforms. There are definitely ways for people that are both resource constrained or without significant coding skills. So those are issues of that accessibility that I'm talking to in referencing of like how do we want these forms to be accessible to others, and what does that mean? Let me look.
I asked my question in the chat because I needed to write it out to think about it. But about book apps, we saw a lot of publishers producing book apps in the early 2010s,
Yeah.
and some with mixed reality, and they were successful. They actually sold really well and did really well for the publishers. But they weren't prepared for the ongoing, how to make them persist. So it's not like a back catalog where you just have a document or some text or what have you, where they can just bring it back to print anytime they need. We definitely see Aaron Reed talks about, the fact that he has to change things in apps so that he's created sometimes, even if it's still working, it's still fine just to keep it listed in the App Store, and it becomes quite a burden. So how are you thinking about the sustainable and persistent presence for these texts, especially with a small press and
Yeah,
limited resources?
yeah, that's brilliant questions. Let me go back to, let me find the slide. Donde está?
Mhm.
Huh?
Sasaki.
Where am I slide? Ew. Okay, I'm missing a slide somewhere. Um, so yeah, so the persistence. Damn. Okay. The persistence issues. Let me go back. Are two of the main things that need to be thought through. Um, is that it? Yes. Here we go. Maybe. No. Wait. Okay, here we go. This
There
is
we are.
it. JK, LOL. Thank you for your patience. So, the persistence and the access are the two technological challenges that need to be sourced through. These are the major things. Did we not cover this? Did it skip and hide over these slides? I
I
feel
think I
like it
see
did.
from the slide, the fact that the slide numbers are crossed out, that they're hidden. Yeah.
Ew. Okay. Um, Bear with me. Let me get back on it. Okay. So sorry, we skipped over like the coolest parts. So the technological, okay, number one. So when the media surfaced before, it had issues of access already. It was self-selecting of the people who were going to access those. Now, 70% of the world's population has an AR capable device. In their pocket every single day, including in resource constrained and developing areas. Most people now have access to interact with this media. So that in itself completely changes a lot of the contexts and scenarios. And when we talk about technical challenges, those are the two main things that I need help thinking through, and I invite conversation around this. So XR works are fragile. They disappear when a platform shuts down, devices become obsolete, the OS updates, they decide to deprecate Flash, a QR code breaks is a big one. So how are we thinking about this? The thing that I am mainly thinking through right now is how to become non-platform dependent. So Web AR, Web XR needs to kind of be the gold standard in order to increase access and infrastructure. there are not easy to engage with non-proprietary modalities of access right now. Are you seeing the slide? I don't know what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so these are the big things to think through right now on the technical front. Um, there's also not so there's also issues of like basic infrastructure, like the ISBN, like some of the IP. So there's these two buckets that need to be solved, and everyone is welcome to contribute to this conversation and think through this. Also, issues of technical maintenance, right? And creator democratizing access. So the TLDR is WebAR, like it has to be WebAR. It has to be platform agnostic to decouple from big tech.
Agreed. Yeah. Web apps are my friend.
Yeah. There's also these issues of access, like it requires all this stuff, like a device, a QR code, a headset, a site or a physical location, app store, 3D assets, sound, interaction logic. So all this stuff, creating like major opportunity gaps, which is also something that needs to be thought through.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the creative process. I mean,
Yeah.
the the work that I'm working on right now, like, was originally intended to be an EPUB, but as I've developed it, I'm like, it's going to be an EPUB, and that's the main thing for the research problem that I'm working on. But it's also going to be a twine so that I can put it in that sphere. It's also going to be um, capable of print on demand. None of them, and I'm again, I owe a lot of my creative process to Aaron Reed because I think he does really cool stuff. Um, and this idea that a work doesn't have to be the same in every medium, and actually it shouldn't be the same in every medium. And that we can, because we have digital tools, we can adapt to different media so that it's a more transmedia piece, and we embrace that some parts of it are going to break. And that comes from Jason Nelson, who I remember one of the conferences that I went to where everyone at the session was debating, oh, how do we preserve this? How do we preserve this? How do we preserve this? And he was like, don't. I didn't mean for it to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are meant to be ephemeral. And so I think too that's some of the creativity and the author's perspective as well. We get really caught up in how do we make it so that it is forever, and it's the same everywhere, but that's very print culture. That is very everything must be the same, and it must have an authoritative context, and everyone must see the same thing and be able to turn to the same page. And that's going back to what we talked about, is there's one truth of things, there's one source, there's one
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, that's the whole thing about electronic literature, right? Is it's a different experience for everyone. Um, and I think that's what a lot of us like about it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. I think for me, one thing that I'm thinking about is coupling physical print media, so not abandoning physical media in any way, shape, or form, but allowing digital content to overlay and interact with it, and creating something creolized, something hybridized, something completely new, and that is also a very interesting point you bring up, right? Of making it of incorporate feature, not a bug, right? Um, but I think both of those need to be solved and communicated. So how do we hold that persistence, and then also how do we create the cultural space for thinking about these forms in kind of more ephemeral ways? Petey, do you want to tell us about binding
Yeah,
media?
tell us about this.
Tell us about binding media.
Binding Media is Elika Ortega's book that came out from Stanford University Press, I think last year. And it is thinking about like the like that like point between this literature that depends on print or a physical object and then is also like mediated or digital in some way too. And it sort of exists like right on that like collision. I read a bunch of it, but not all of it for my exams. But it's really I want to return to it now that I'm continuing to move forward into like literary magazine stuff for the dissertation. So
Looks
it's a
fun.
really worth a read. It's great.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this before, so thank you.
Yay, thank
Alika needs to
you.
promote her stuff more. Excellent. All right. Do we have other questions? I think we covered what I saw
What
of the
was
chat.
promised? These are
Yeah.
the jetpacks. This is
Oh,
it,
good. I'm
man.
just trying to make sure that we
If
got everyone's
anybody
questions
wants
posted in the
to,
chat.
I'm gonna put my stuff in the chat. This is my email address. If you want to think about these things with me, please reach out to me. Um,
Thrilled. Awesome.
Hold on. This is my Instagram handle. Also, I have a LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find because my name is like not a real word. It's a made up. So I'm very easy to find.
Same.
Please LinkedIn me and let's be friends.
Excellent.
Help
I
me think through these things. I don't want to do this by myself. Help me think through this, please.
a millennial called me classic Gen X the other day because I shared an Instagram post with her on WhatsApp. She was like, "Why didn't you?" I was like, "You know what? No, I'm Gen X and I'm owning it."
Yes, you should.
Fine.
That was
All right,
amazing.
cool. So we can have a little bit of a break now, about 6 or 7 minutes before our lightning talks up at, I believe, at 3:15, which we will be returning to Monica, who has our first lightning talk. Yes, 3:15. So that's in about 6 minutes. So I'm going to turn video off, but feel free to hang out in the Zoom and chat and have more discussions and have coffee or go to the loo.
I was going to ask for the schedule because I don't know where it is. If somebody could put that in the chat.
Give me a sec, Dina.
Oh, thank you.